Picture this scenario. You've just thrown a monster game, and then it all falls apart. Today we're going to talk about why that happens. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about what happens after you shoot a really big game. Now, a big game for you might be maybe your first ever 300 game, maybe you've got a 400 or a perfect game, or maybe it's even just a tournament turning type of game where you kind of have momentum going in the right direction. And you come out the next game and things just don't go as planned and you don't understand why that happens. We're going to talk about why that happens. So the most common reason for that, I feel, is you've had that big game and you're on a little bit of an adrenaline high, and you're not aware that your body isn't necessarily the same as it was the game before. Now, common causes for having a little bit too much of adrenaline would be that you're gripping the ball a little too tight, you're overthrowing it, or maybe your approach is just a little bit quick. And after a really big game, I always recommend for people to kind of change a little bit.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What I mean by that is you're not necessarily going to carry the same mindset into the next game. And what you're going to do is you're going to have to consciously tell yourself that your adrenaline's going to be going a little bit and you need to, grip the ball a little bit looser, or you got to be very mindful that you're not trying to throw the ball a little too hard. So I always say, come out that first frame, and when you're in your before you start your approach, you're telling yourself, okay, don't overthrow the ball. Let's make sure this is nice and easy. You want to do a double check to make sure your grip is really good. It's so easy to kind of just go with the flow and continue on with what you think is the same thing, but not necessarily it being the same thing. And if you've ever found yourself in this situation where it seems to happen repeatedly to the point where you have a big game and you're kind of saying to yourself before the next game even starts, okay, here comes a 180 game or a 150 game or something like that. And I've seen it 1,000 times. And that is the number one reason, is just straight adrenaline. Now, the second kind of pitfall that you would fall into, and it does happen quite frequently, is you're trying to match the score that you had the game before with your current game. So, if you start on 4 in a row, that previous game, your really good score, you're trying to replicate that. And I know you're trying to do that all the time anyway, but there's that little extra short-term, psychological push and pull going on where you're kind of, I need to do that again. And not every game starts on 4 in a row. Not every good game starts on 4 in a row. So if you've got that 4 strike in a row start and you're looking at it the next game and it doesn't kind of go that way, and maybe you punch a head pin the first frame, or maybe you just start slow and you open the first couple frames, or if you start with the spare, you're telling yourself subconsciously in your mind, oh, okay, I need to make that up later on. And once you start doing that, you're kind of out of that mind frame where you're just making sure the next ball is the best ball it possibly can be. You're kind of putting a little extra pressure on yourself to, kind of keep things going, where if you just kind of loosened a little bit and let things go, you'd find that scores kind of replicate. One thing that I'll say is, once you kind of master this whole adrenaline or pressure problem after a really good score, things get easier where you'll start seeing, if your high game's a 300, you might shoot a 310 to one game and come back with a 280. Things get easier for you, but it's just that hurdle that you have to come over. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of a different approach to things. So, just to recap, I know this is going to be a pretty short video, but you shoot a big game, you're going to want to take a little bit of speed off or loosen your grip when you start that next game. And you're not going to want to try and compare your previous game score with your current game. If you do that, I think you'll find that those scores are going to keep rolling, and you'll be improving, vastly in what we would just call like just stringing together big games. Anyway, hope the video is gonna help you further your bowling career, and I hope everyone is staying safe in this time, and we'll see you on the next video.